Our effect on this world depends to the degree of how us we are. That's like power versus force. It's the engine of true effect and change. Welcome to God, I Love You, a podcast for the woman who left the rules but kept the reverence.
We're Devany and Meredith, soul friends walking the messy, mystical, unapologetically feminine path.
We are done tidying our souls for anyone.
We start where it hurts and stay for the healing. We're so glad you're here.
Okay, so this is episode 1. Why am I so dry? We're looking for a sponsor for vaginal products.
But like, pause. When you hear a woman say, why am I so dry? There is like this, shit, I know that feeling. Like, oh, I am right now. Like when you look in our world and when I look at my friends and I look at, just women holding so many roles, doing so many things, it's just like the dryness feels like it's everywhere. Because what it looks like and feels like for me, why am I so dry, is when I'm under-resourced, when I just have nothing left, and yet I have to keep going.
Yeah, it seems like everyone is having a conversation, at least in the circles I'm in, of like, I'm so exhausted. I just can't. The kids are doing this. My spouse is traveling. I can't. I am, to your point, so under-resourced that I cannot not only meet for a cup of coffee, I just can't even bear the thought of thinking of it because it's depressing that I can't do it. We're sapped. We're totally sapped.
And I think the first time, Mary, that I asked this question, that I remember consciously asking this question, why am I so dry, was 2020, COVID shutdown, and I described it to you. I remember we were on Zoom book club, and I was like, I am like this engine that's like running with nowhere to go. And I soon realized that I was so motivated by all of these external needs in my life. Like I was teaching in a Bible study, a part of a Bible study, volunteering at the kids' school, trying to get my yoga business off the ground, being a wife, being a mom. But I was super motivated by like checking all these boxes of how I was helpful and how I was needed and how I was strong. And when everything shut down and we had nowhere to go, and I was left sitting in my house and my engine was running, but I think you and I have talked about this, the dryness came out of this feeling of disconnect. Like I had all this energy, but I didn't feel connected to myself. And I didn't know what that meant. And I first blamed it on the fact that I had nowhere to go and nothing to do with all of my abundant energy. But then the longer I sat in the stillness and I sat in the inability to move, this whisper of my soul was suddenly like, did you even love what you were doing? Like, is this who you are? Like, hey, I'm still here. I've just been going along. Like, I've been waiting for you to get still enough to ask me.
To sit down. Just sit down.
Yeah. Sit down. As an Enneagram 8 who's super body-centered, stop moving for a second.
Also, you're a manifesting generator in human design. So you have both vision and go, 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 go. It's like superhuman.
Fair. And I think, yes, I do. I feel that is true. Like I said, we're going to talk about ourselves here in a self-referential, unshameful kind of way. That is just true about me. And I think when I look at all the ways I was pushing and pushing and pushing, I might have felt like I was an engine sitting with nowhere to go, but there was this deeper dryness. Like I realized like this, and they say, I first heard about this also in Manifesting Generator when I had my human design read to me, where I didn't have, I had a lot of resentment and I did not feel satisfaction. And those are 2 red flags that the amount of doing I was doing was not tied to satisfaction. And I wonder when I feel dry now today, 4 years fast forward, is when there's that lack of feeling satisfaction. And we could go into a whole conversation about that because as women, we've been conditioned to we we cannot access satisfaction. That's not okay. Like
Right.
we are meant to be martyrs and helpers, whether in Christianity or in greater culture. But like, wait, my satisfaction is actually a thing that I can trust to tell me if I'm listening to my truest self. So that was a bit of a paradigm shift, but I
It's
go off
massive.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about you? Dryness. What does it mean to you? So mine was a lack of satisfaction for sure.
Yeah. Ooh. My dryness is inaction, like not acting. And by that I mean the paralysis, not like inaction in order to allow something to bloom. It's more like I get overwhelmed by the questions of what if. Mostly those have a root in worthiness. So I like the what I'm here in this lifetime to work on and correct, I think primarily is my belief of my own unworthiness. And that's been a theme since like jump, since I was a kid. I'm always questioning like why am I here? How did I present in that situation? Um I mean, the kid that was like had to get, remember when part of your grade was participation? It was
Yes.
always 10% of the grade. And every damn time school would start, I would look at the syllabus and see, oh my God, is there a participation grade? And there always was. And I calculated how many times I would have to raise my hand, like number of classes, what would 10% be? And I would raise my hand, get bright red in the raising of it because my body was already having this experience of saying something incorrectly, of faltering my words, of having a shaky voice, and I was already red. So it was already, I had like all these tells at the start. And that's basically been copy pasted through most of the interactions of my life.
So
Um,
are you saying engage in what the syllabus says to do to find your worth? Like to engage in the plan book?
yeah, engage in the plan book. And that was always, it was the teachers, it wasn't mine. And then around, a little bit pre-COVID, when I had my motherhood breakdown, I realized like the gift of that breakdown was understanding that I was working off of someone else's playbook. My mom was like mother of all mothers, very maternal, such a provider, lots of love, great meals. We always walked into a warm and loving home. And I took that playbook without gathering any data points of my own for who I was and what kind of woman I am. And I used her playbook and tried to raise my kids and was, I mean, underwater, just so underwater. And, like not, of course, I lost my sense of self because I wasn't even asking her, but I lost that juice, that essence, that animating factor of self, because I wasn't around myself. Wasn't around myself at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the dryness almost like a sense of hollowness?
Yeah.
Like you were like in a shell trying to play in someone else's, like a character in someone else's play?
Not just a shell, but so I live in Austin and we have cicadas that come every year. And oftentimes you'll see as they transform bodies, they leave behind exoskeleton. And
Yep.
it's crispy, right? It's like split from the spine and they crawl out and it's really crispy. And oftentimes, you can find them on the driest places. And that's what it felt like. It's like not just was I dry, but my land, where I was sitting, where I was standing was dry as well.
I can relate to that sense of dryness. That like mine, if you can imagine an a skeleton, the exoskeleton of the cicada, but still like buzzing around, like doing all the things, which is a super creepy image. But
Cicadaing, but yeah.
I would like dry out in my own moving. I would just move and move and move. And what I realized was the origin of why I was pushing myself to be this flying skeleton until I had to sit still in COVID. And I feel like I began to like embody myself again. Like I was like still enough for my selfness to like fill my shell back up out of, it was not by choice, clearly. But at that before then, like what drove me to like fly around from thing to thing to thing and do and do and do. But I think, like you said, yours was worthiness. And I think for me, a fear that I could be loved because of who I am, like the substance of me was enough to be loved. That somehow I had to thought it's all because I knew from a young age that I had a higher energy than a lot of my peers, that my doing is what gave me value versus the substance of me was what was lovable, right? And I think if we fast forward to today, this is 4 years forward from the first time we asked each other this question of why am I so dry? And I think I told you that that and we kind of learned about this in the work. And you're a deep student of the work, which I'll let you explain what that is in a minute. Um, but when I allow my doing center to continue to move forward and do and do and do because of all this external validation, that I kind of was like, external validation is at least I can kind of control when and how I get it, and I'll settle for that. Is it love? Is it just external validation? Sometimes it was both, but like I didn't trust that I could be loved without the doing, right? So I'm losing my train, coming back. But when I now today find myself like moving towards saying yes to all the things that people would like me to do for them, like what my kids need, what other people need, and I get so caught up in the doing for others, which then dries me out. I now know that I can, in fact, trust the flow of love. I can trust, like, where my heart is attached and connected to all other hearts, that, like, love does not operate from a transactional you give, so then someone else will give you back. That's transaction. Love is like an abundant resource that flows at all times from all places, and that we are all loved exactly how we are, which is really scary for me to trust. But can I trust my own love and trust love to flow out of my heart center and to flow out of myself and then move from that place? And I think what I have found that requires, particularly as a manifesting generator, like I can trust also my satisfaction. And we can talk about that more. Like that's different than like, I really like potato chips versus like I'm satisfied from homemade chips with like homemade guacamole. Like, right. Like we can talk about satisfaction, right? There's like some difference nuance to that. Um, but regardless, like fast forward to today is understanding what I really love and what like trusting my love as a compass to flow me forward in life versus someone outside of me telling my little exoskeleton, fly right, left, say yes to that committee, say yes to helping that friend. Cause if you don't, no one else will. Like that whole like martyrdom thing, like
Yep.
setting that down, like, oh, that's transactional. Like what is love in me? No. And that can I trust that I will be loved back that way? So what do you think? You've known me through that transition. I'm still in
Oh,
it.
yeah. Because I've known you through that transition, I've seen so many versions of this. I watched you, yeah. I watched you. It's like the difference between a lightning bolt, right, and a laser, you know?
Mm,
That's how you've been. As you started to look inward, I think it became easier for you to say no and to concentrate energy in certain places. Um, and that's been as a result of your slowing down, the
totally.
simple slowness. Yeah.
this connects to you. This is why I love book club talk. Because welcome
Tell
to
me
the
about
pod.
myself, how?
This relates to Meredith. That piece of slowing down, and you and I have talked about, and what I've watched in you is this theme of like the syllabus that was given to you in class, and you like following the syllabus to then find yourself in it. Like my worth is based on if I can play by this syllabus, or I can also engage in the playbook that is the way my mother mothers, which Betty is a fantastic mother, as are you, Meredith, but not the same.
Not
We
the
love
same.
Betty.
Not the
Yeah.
same.
And you have a beautiful, incredible mind that can like zoom out and hold from a mental place, like the understanding of multiple perspectives existing at once, multiple realities existing at once. Like you are a projector on the human design, in the human design world. And so you can just hold this vastness. And I have watched you, the dryness for you is sometimes a freeze in understanding your place within that vast, all the different storylines that are existing at one time.
Mm.
And for you, the slowing down has also been critical, but I have watched it because you have like dropped into the fullness of your body. And then where you felt dry, as in, I don't have my animating life force. Like what if that, like you get really up into your head and it freezes you. But as you drop back down into your body, and I asked you before we recorded, like, well, how do you know if something's true for you? And you said it feels true.
Right.
Many of us have to be like, for my brain, I don't always know if something makes sense, where you can get there. Like you can think your way through basically anything in all the years I've known you. But to have to say what feels like in my body as true, like that seems to be the way out of dryness, is coming back to your body, for your body to say this is true or this isn't true. And it's slow.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, this is something I see in both of us. I mean, yes, 100%. I'm so glad you can translate myself to me because that is so damn helpful.
Ditto.
What I hear you talking about, and even your reference to the work earlier is, and this is the work like the Gurdjieffian work, not Byron Katie, also fabulous work. So it's a different concept, but the high level of it is that we've got these three centers: the intellectual, the emotional, and the moving center. And the way that your energy works is that moving center is so strong, as is the emotional center. But as you slowed down and engaged your mental, your intellect center, I feel like that's when you started making the major perceivable changes. And that's kind of the trick, is changing centers. So what you say about me is so correct in whenever I'm overloaded in my intellectual center, now I'm learning to short circuit it, kind of like going outside for a walk, do something active, touch my toes, move into my moving body, so that I can access it. But yes, like this is the other thing that you and I share, which is our placement on the neurodivergent spectrum. And I was sharing with you earlier that I started to understand very recently the tendency I have, how much I wasn't self-referencing myself, how much I was playing by someone else's playbook, in taking these neurodivergency online tests. So I would take the test, and as I do for every, how they say if it's a multiple choice test, go with your first answer. And so I started to go with my first answer. And over time, I was observing, that's not true. That's actually not true. Something in my body sat weirdly about that. And I observed myself thinking, oh my God, if my first response is not true, how deep does this conditioning go?
Yeah.
How deep is this masking? Which is a tool for autistic people, of course. But rewinding myself back into myself to be able to slow down and answer a question, to find me again. And that's why we're dry, is because we've lost ourselves.
Yep.
We've lost what it is that is us, our us-ness, our essence.
Ooh, our us-ness, our essence.
That.
Okay, so then if you're listening to this and you're asking, well, so then, all right, I can relate. I don't really know myself, or I have a hard time connecting with myself. Either maybe you're like me and you're just won't stop moving. I tell you all the time, Meredith, I fall asleep by moving. Like I literally go asleep to
Okay.
awareness by
Yeah.
moving. Whereas you, we have this inverse relationship where you're like, I go into like inactivity or a state of freeze because I'm overthinking. Like you're over mentally stimulated. I
Yeah.
get over bodily going, but that produces that sense of dry because there's a disconnect from essence. There's a disconnect from the us-ness, the truest place within. So
Yeah.
how does one reconnect with that and the why? Like, why take the time to do it? We started this podcast talking about like there's so much shit to do as women, like, and it's even embarrassing to ask the question out loud. Like, if I can't keep up with that, how would I find time to meet myself? Like, I'm
Right.
completely overwhelmed.
Right. Our effect on this world depends to the degree of how us we are. That is, that's like power versus force. That
Yeah.
is it's the engine of true effect and change.
And when you're in your true self, because remember, my fear was around, am I lovable?
Yeah.
And particularly in my process of beginning to unmask and show up unmasked, like you were the first person and the space where I didn't realize 4 years ago in book club that I got to unmask and like deep dive in my interests.
Let's obsess about something.
Let's do it. This is so fun. But that connecting with the truest, wisest self is in fact also a connection to love. Because as we are truly in ourselves, we then are mirrored back in our trueness. And that abundance of finding your tribe, of finding who loves you for who you are, and moving outside of a transactional belief of love that if I do this, you'll do it back. If I help you, you'll help me. Like that's transaction. That's culturally learned. Like what about love that says your essence already belongs here? And so, do you want to talk about the ways that you have found the self-watering nourishment of your own essence?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is part of our discussions on this have been the shift in perception of how the soul is self-watering. It's a
Boom.
self-watering mechanism. And
But Meredith, hold on. When you first said that to me, I had a jaw drop moment. So just say it again. What about the soul?
the soul is self-watering, which is to say that we already know. Like, I remember in my earlier days and even even recently being, how the hell do I go about finding myself?
Yeah.
And it's not by going to more pottery classes or learning how to arrange flowers or learning a skill. That's not self-watering. It can be in the end, but the thing that I've been doing lately is again to like sit in the dark, get quiet, picture a little me above my head, which is my little higher self, who's like, 15 years younger, totally bright and shiny, just a very vibrant, a vibrant being. And I inquire, what is it that I'm meant to be doing right now? And she always answers. She always answers. And many times that comes, as I have said just previously, of changing centers. Okay, we'll let you know. We'll let you know after you've gone for a walk. Great. Got it. You're not ready to hear it right now in the state that you're in because you're hyperactive. But I can tell you after you've gone through a walk. As you told me about me, it's like embodying. So I can, back to those autism questions. I would start to feel like I knew it was a yes. I'd feel it. I would feel the correct answer in my heart. And then there's a sensation that happens in my hips, which is actually where I hold a lot of my pain. But when
And
the answer is
resentment.
yes,
Hips hold
like,
resentment.
yep, yep, it starts to unwind. And I physically feel that. Other things, like I
Oh,
know,
can I insert before your others because it relates?
please.
Keep yourself where you are on your list. So where you see yourself above, I see myself, I sit still, which is really in COVID, I was like, I guess I'm going to start centering prayer. My parents had reestablished their practice. They told me where I could connect to. So I found the local chapter here in Denver and what have you. But for me, it became going deep down. Like Cynthia Bourgeault talks about going into the depth of yourself, below the stream of your consciousness. Like, so I see it below blood flow, like go deep down into your center
Ugh.
and sit there. And I see a seed, and a seed always begins in the dark. There is nothing wrong with sitting still in the dark with the seed of your truest self that is an outflow of divine expression, as well as the source of inflow of divine expression. So the seed
Mm.
and sitting with that seed and like resting there. And we can talk more about meditation centering prayer later because I have some centering circles if you want to try this with me in a group setting. But then it would be, I like opened up enough space around this seed, like even acknowledging that there is a seed deep within me was the first step. And then when I would move out of my time of meditation, my somatic coach helped me a lot, um, begin to understand delight and discomfort, um, fear and anxiety, but from a somatic place. And I would find like moving towards places of delight that my body was moved towards and places where I could feel a sense of connection was the slow process of coming back to my actual self because my embodied self knows what brings satisfaction and the kind of satisfaction that is like deeply nourishing. And I'm one who loves a quick hit of like, let's have some wine and let me like feel really good for a minute or let me let me have like all the bags of chips. Like I am someone that I'm like,
I'm one of those too.
I
Yeah.
love being in my body. I love it. And it's like understanding my, deep bodied self. And so it became like walking outside in nature, putting my feet in the grass, cooking really good food, slowing down to like hug my kids and smell their hair,
Mm.
like gazing into my partner's eyes, which fucking was weird at first, but then
So weird.
realizing like that
Yeah,
is
it's
such a
great.
helpful thing. And then slowly, like you said, almost maybe that's how I contained my self seed. And it wasn't like a direct A plus B equals C, but it was like tending to the seed of myself in the dark. Then when I would walk outside into the light of my normal day to day, I knew when that magnetic center was saying yes to something and when that magnetic center was not. But my mind was like, that's a good idea because A plus C plus D. If we believe in transactional exchanges, then if you say yes, that'll save you in the future. It's like my ego trying to like self protect
Yes.
versus the magnetic center saying yes. So I think from a practical standpoint, tending yourself, your seed, whether she's above you, which I love the way that you are wired, Meredith, that's such like you're like plugging into the upper sphere. Like,
I'm just thinking this is so us. This is,
I
of
know
course. Of course.
I want to give people pragmatic things like meditate and like plug
Right.
in, like, or
Find your
drop
place.
down.
Maybe yours is in your feet. We don't know.
Yeah,
We have no
totally.
idea. Yeah. You're hitting on something, the justifying as another practical tip that I think you and I have both learned
To find
is,
yourself.
yeah, to find yourself when and to find the places where you are not being correct to yourself, true to
Mhm.
yourself, is whenever you find yourself justifying and basically like making the PowerPoint in your mind about why this is correct and good for you and me, is a really good sign that it's not correct.
Yeah.
The right thing needs no justification.
Say that again.
The right thing needs no justification.
Yeah.
The right thing is known and felt, sensed, perceived. It does not need any points behind it. It just is. And so as you notice yourself going through these events, you can ask yourself, why am I justifying this? What is it in me that this is pointing to? And that's where you can start to see some of the cracks in your own selfhood and your own personhood. I often justify my productivity or lack thereof.
I was going to say, you're real hard on yourself for not producing.
I'm very hard on myself, but I also am scattered. I'm scattered, and I lose a lot of force in my anxious thoughts about producing. And so at the end of the day, when the house is a disaster, when I've done no work in my business, and I don't know how it's suddenly 2:50 and someone has to pick up the kids and someone has to cook the meal. My God, who is that? Oh shit, that's me. I start justifying. And that, no, I was doing this other spiritual work. And blah, blah, blah. I was not. I was losing force. My job that day was to lose energy and force. And now I know that tomorrow means I get to do a to-do list. Tonight, I do a to-do list. I gather myself back in because I've justified myself the day. And 1,000 other areas in my life, which we all have.
I love what you said about gathering yourself in. And I think pausing to gather self in and to actually ask self, what do you love? In the world of somatics, from where I've been learning and studying, the question of like what matters to you feels so basic, but it is so beautiful to begin there, to gather yourself in and say, what matters to me today? Or looking back, what mattered? Because that's a good one for me is I will do a bunch of stuff to justify that I am productive. And it's usually a bunch of shit I don't want to say yes to, but I'm good at it.
Oh, I love this, looking at that from opposite ends of the candle. Huh.
Versus gathering myself in and like what matters. And then not looking outside of myself for the, someone's going to tell me it matters, but do I? And that is a hard practice at the beginning. It still can be hard. But when you said, like, I have a bit more of a containment, I think it's been kindly deciding to listen to what matters to me first. And that feels really countercultural. Like, I get embarrassed even saying it out loud because I'm like, oh, I'm going to be read as selfish. I'm going to be read as self-centered. But what is it actually to like have self-trust and self-love to gather in and ask and listen and to trust that love speaks through desire? Yeah.
Love speaks through desire.
And that's some water.
Pause on that one. That is some water. I'm a golden watering can. My goodness.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So it's risky, right? So let's just leave it with it's risky feeling and just to like normalize how risky it is to listen to yourself in a world that has said the answer lies outside of you.
Yeah. And as you're saying, I mean, another word to say what you just said was like prioritize your values.
Yeah.
And that is risky because you might find that you have just a couple values. And that's probably not a bad thing. And when you find you only have a couple, then you're saying no
To
quite a few values of other people's. But as you say no to other people's the things that are most important for them. It gives them a chance to let those grow for them. And now we're all working within our good and right fractal.
Ooh. Yes. Kind of like a forest. I always like to leave it with nature, right? Like everything within a forest is living within its right action and growing in its right action within its right purpose in harmony with one another.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
That's some truth. So next episode, we're talking about water. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll get more in depth in what is water for each of us? What is water for you? Maybe how to come in contact with your own water.
Mm.
Yeah. But in the meantime,
I love that. Let's whoop and poop it, man.
let's whoop and poop it. I have my whoop. Do you have yours?
No, go. I don't.
I have just discovered, I don't know if we're allowed to say brands, so I will not, but I have just discovered a flavor of sparkling water that I am putting down. I want it at my funeral. It is orange vanilla, which sounds disgusting. It sounds awful, but it is just so good. In a refrigerator that is too cold,
Okay.
a true gift. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, I have recently found a drink that I love that is because I'm trying to wait to have caffeine for 90 minutes after I wake up. Guys, it is a huge difference. That's a huge whoop. But then
I don't love hearing that, by the way.
it sucks. It really sucks. And it's great. So, but I found this low. So if you want to ease yourself into that, there's this low version of caffeine that comes in it's the green tea. It's like genmaicha. It's green tea with roasted rice inside of it. So it gives it kind of like a roasty flavor. And you get only a touch of caffeine. Like they recommend it for pregnant women. And it like smells roasted, but it's a green tea. It's cool. It's a true whoop.
Okay, send me a photo of that.
Okay, well. Poop. Finding a lipstick. Before this pod, because we really are self-referential, I was like, oh shit, you said to wear lipstick, Meredith.
Thanks, Betty. That's my mom coming out in me. Yeah.
I'm going to poop the fact that I don't know what to buy. And I'm overwhelmed by it.
Yeah. Yeah. Lip products are very overwhelming.
Yeah. They're terrible. Too many choices. We live in a world of too many choices. There's my poop.
100%. There's my poop. God, it's so awful to have choice.
Okay, fair.
What is freedom?
Now I hear all my privilege in that statement. That is actually a valid point.
Okay. I didn't mean to take that. We're talking about lipstick.
All right. What's your poop?
My poop is, is like white guys on a guitar at the end of an evening. That's my poop.
That is a great poop.
It's like nothing worse.
There's nothing
We just want to go home. We want to go home.
We do.
We all know someone who can play these 90s and early 2000s hits. And we'll listen to them on the drive home maybe instead. So.
I love that idea. I love that. That is a valid. That made me snort. Makes me think that I should definitely not encourage my 10-year-old white son to play guitar.
Don't do that.
Yeah. He needs to find a new instrument. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good
Anything
tip.
else. Anything else.
All right. Oh, well, God, I love you, Meredith. And God, we love you, listeners. We're glad you're here as we don't know what the hell we're doing, but we're talking about it.
You can like and review. Please do so. Find us at GILY.pod and on YouTube. And other places probably soon. We probably won't get our act together about that. We love you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for being with us on God, I Love You.
If something stirred or soothed you, share it with a friend or leave us a little love in the reviews.
And if not, that's okay. We're not here for gold stars.
You can find us at GILY.pod, Devany at illumin.within, and me at Hibernate Healing.
Until next time, Godspeed, good vibes, and God, we love you.